Uh, we have to make a comprehensive reflection about that because 40 years later, for sure, the Iranian people is not in a better shape than 40 years ago. It's undeniable. Under the previous regime, there were sufferings, there was corruption, there were inequalities, but I don't think the revolution brought to the people the good. Or at least, since Iran is a rich country, rich on oil resources, there are natural resources, but I would say inequalities remain, and first of all, these happen at the expenses of fundamental rights of individuals. All those actions in the government when I was foreign minister were linked to another big problem we had at the time. We were, as Italy, very closely involved in the international mission in Afghanistan, as well as in Iraq. And you remember very well, Italy had the responsibility of the province of Herat. And the province of Herat in Afghanistan is the one which shares hundreds and hundreds of kilometers of border with Iran. So I had to take into consideration that only by trying to play a bridging role with Iran on security at the borders, on fighting Taliban, I could have succeeded in helping the Italian troops working under NATO, under international community for security of that country. I would say, sadly, we run the risk to pay the price of mistakes made by our friends in the States. Our friends in the United States have been making mistakes with the second term of President Obama and now with President Trump administration decision to disengage from Syria, to consider an even more comprehensive disengagement from the broader Middle East. I remember very well President Obama, first of all, asking European friends to, I would say, fight against Assad regime and then saying, okay, we give up any possibility to continue to put our pressure over Assad and even leaving in the hands of the Russian Federation the big fight against Daesh, except some operation. It's undeniable. Russia has been playing a very important role on fighting Daesh in Syria. Why so? Because of miscalculation? Because it's too expensive? Because of too many victims? I don't know. I'm not in mind of the President of the States, but I think the results for us, the friends America has in Europe, the friends of NATO, it is a problem. No, this was due to another mistake. The strength of Iran now, it was the wrongest part of the Iranian nuclear deal. In the Iranian nuclear deal, those that signed the agreement, Europe plus 5 plus 1, as you used to say, they made a number of mistakes in that agreement, but the biggest one is to have considered only the part of the problem, which is enrichment of uranium, monitoring system, what to do in case of failure, in case of violations, and so on and so forth, and not addressing the scenario issue. What to do about Iran that in return for signing the agreement looks to have free hands on expansion in the region? This is the problem. I don't like the system. I don't like in principle a system where to try to bypass decision taken by our strongest ally, United States, you try to find an alternative way to continue to do business as usual. Much more transparent has been the clear point made by Prime Minister Conte to President Trump. We have a serious problem. Italy has been affected severely from many points of view from the economic crisis. Let's consider, as a friend of America, to give us a message of friendship and trust. Let's give us a temporary exemption from the system of sanction with Iran. And President Trump say, okay, I do it with Italy, not with all the countries. I consider the reasons of Italy are deserve to be taken into consideration, but not by creating an alternative way to say, go ahead on your way, we go on ours. You have to take into consideration, after the difficult times of economic crisis, after the risk of recession we have in Italy now, it's very difficult to ask the Italians to afford a new phase of economic crisis after Russian sanctions affecting Italy severely, possible Iranian sanction affecting again Italian industry. We have to make our American friends understand we have to find new ways, because otherwise Italy is not enough strong to afford to go through 2-3 phases of sanctions in different sectors of our economy, after trying to recover from the negative impact of the existing sanctions that are still there. This is an element that at political level, the government in office, the government of Prime Minister Conte, put on the table in his talks with President Trump.